Hello again. I'm back because I wanted to make another video. I've been thinking about this for a while. What's actually really quite good about this is that thinking about what I would like to say in videos is actually really quite nice. It's giving me kind of a bit of a project to do. And what I wanted to talk about in this video is the most jarring things that people with vestibular neuritis or any kind of, I'm guessing, any kind of vestibular disorder or balance disorder have probably been through. And I say that because from what I've seen online, the stories are almost identical. I mean, if not identical, and they are also pretty much identical to mine. And I'm so excited to be in a place where I can share this with you, because if I could give this video a name, it would be stuff that makes us want to pull our hair out. And I kind of wanted to talk about it just to vent it, just to vomit it out, because it's not our shit, it's not our problem, it's kind of other people's stuff, but get it out. And then I want to make my next videos more about recovery and things that have really helped me. And as I say, I'm not anywhere close to recovery yet, but today I'm actually having a really positive day, and I will be able to kind of talk about that a bit more probably in the next video, because I mean, where are we now? We're April, early April. Considering that this all really started for me early February, the first few weeks to a month were simply living hell for me. It was just living hell. It was the most isolating, horrible thing. When I say I was screaming, I mean I was screaming, because I was having a panic attack on a morning basis. I, yes, did, after one moment of just getting entirely frustrated, just scream. The loudest I've screamed in my life, about 10 times, like I was trying to communicate with Satan in hell. That was what it was like. So yeah, I mean, I've never been driven to insanity before, but let me tell you, this did that for me. But I think it's not simply the illness. It is these things that I've written down that compile and add up, and hopefully kind of we can have a laugh at how crap it is together, and also hopefully help you feel a little bit more sane if it's anything you've experienced and it's making you go, what the fuck is happening? What the fuck is my life? It's not bad enough that I feel drunk and I have had no alcohol, I've had no hallucinogenic drugs, but I feel like I'm tripping 24/7. Then you get mad behaviour from other people talking to you, and the things they say, it makes you want to pull your hair out. Okay, so let's just calm down. Okay, so these are some of the things that I think that if you speak to anybody with vestibular neuritis, they'll probably tell you are some of like the shittest things, and some that are really, really specific to me about things I've hated. And then at the very end, I'm going to kind of talk about some of the silver linings, because they have been important. Could have done without all of it, but they've been important. They've been very important, actually. So, and then we can move on to recovery and more hopeful stuff. So, of the sensations of having vestibular neuritis, so are weird. They're weird. So aside from the fact that it's quite difficult to move about without it feeling like everything's moving, if you're not simply dealing with that, you're kind of dealing with this thing where I was dealing with this for quite a while. It's not so bad currently, but it's there. but it's not so bad currently. But I'm not. If I have learned anything from this the fucking illness, it is that you say you have a good day, just don't even bother because the next day is bad. Anyway, that is just something I have found. I have found that one week I can feel this, the next week I can feel like I'm really back at square one. I'm trying to be far more hopeful than that though, but like, it's just made me not want to say anything. If I start feeling like remotely better, I'm just like, I'm zipping it because I just don't like tempting fate anymore because it seemed to happen a lot. Anyway, so one of the sensations that was jarring me the most, and I couldn't explain it properly, but I've seen a few people explain it and I'm like, yes, that is what it feels like. If you're walking on a trampoline, you're walking across a trampoline, you're walking and bouncing. Boing, boing, boing. Why when I'm walking along does it feel like I'm bong, bong? It's just like, and all you're doing is walking. All you're doing is walking, but your whole body feels like it's doing this. And you're like, please, please, enough already. And the thing is, I have had some really, to be honest, I've never found these comments to be like super bad. They're actually quite well-meaning and sweet. But sometimes I think people are kind of like, oh, so it's like drunk without the alcohol. Isn't that quite cool? No, it's not. It's not, because it's not fun. It doesn't feel fun. It feels actually hugely unsettling. But also, you're not mentally drunk. You're mentally entirely here. You're just dealing with not being able to walk properly and feeling like an alien has taken over your spirit and body. It's horrible. It's actually a living nightmare. It's like, I would rather be drunk. Those comments are quite sweet, to be honest, but like, it's like, no, it doesn't feel like being drunk, and it's not like being drunk with it was quite funny. When I was having a good day the other day, I was actually able to have like a nice conversation with an Uber driver, and we were just laughing together. Like, I don't know, I was just in some kind of good mood, and I was like, dude, it's like I'm drunk all the time. It's crazy. And he was like, amazing. He was like, you don't have to pay for alcohol. And at the time, I was really able to laugh about it. But when it's day to day and you don't get a break, it's not funny. It is not funny. The comments are okay. They're innocent, but like, the experience is not funny. It doesn't feel like being drunk. It doesn't feel like having fun on a bouncy castle. It feels like fucking annoying. That's what it feels like. And also, you don't know when it's going to stop. You just don't know when it's going to stop. And I think that's also one of the things I really hated. Gosh, this is very moany. So another thing, when it's super bad, when vertigo is super bad, it feels like, if you've ever been walking down a flight of stairs and you've maybe like missed a step or two and your foot goes whoosh through the air and you're like, whoa. When my vertigo was really bad, walking was like that. Walking was like, whoa, fuck, like it was just horrible. So that's another sensation. Another thing that also kind of bothered me, and this bothered me for kind of like a few different reasons, was other people's movement. If someone opened a door, I hated it. If somebody walked past me, I'm like, it's too much. It's like, it's visually too much. If somebody was sitting next to me and they moved, I felt like I was like on a boat. If somebody, like, I remember sitting next to my sister, we were both under a blanket, she moved the blanket, she had the audacity, she moved the blanket, and I was like, fuck, it's too overwhelming. It's crazy. And then the problem is that I was finding myself feeling this close to saying to people, like, can you stop? Can you actually stop moving? And then I was like, no, I can't ask people to stop moving. That's crazy. But like, that's how bad it is. I felt like saying to people, like, can you stop moving? And in my head, I was thinking, that's so unreasonable, like, moving. but it's because it feels horrible. But then you hear yourself and you're thinking, no, like people move all day long and stuff moves all day long. It kind of gives you like this horrible reality check of, oh, this is bad. This really isn't good. This really is not fun. I think that's another thing, actually. It kind of leads me nicely into the next thing, which is that it made me feel moody. It just made me feel moody because everything felt crap. I cried a lot. I moaned a lot. I was just grumpy just so much of the time. Just because the symptoms are just so unpleasant. Like it's not a barrel of laughs. Moving on. These kind of increasingly get like a bit worse, and these are slightly more to do with the social things, but then we're going to go, we've kind of gone down a hill of negativity, we're going to go down, we're going to get down into the ditch, and then we're going to like go up. So one of the first times I went for a walk with my sister, we walked to a little cafe. At this point I did not realise how bad my symptoms were. So I had no sense of what to expect. And we were walking, and I suddenly realised that I couldn't cross the road, because when I turned my head to the left, I felt so unsteady. And you take for granted how much head movement you do on a regular basis. Crossing roads, navigating the outside world, your head is constantly turning left and right because for danger, but like it was one of the most scary realizations I'd had, where I was saying to my sister, I was like, I can't do it. You need to check the road for me. Like I can't rely on myself to do this. One of the scariest things. It was one of the scariest moments of realization. And then we got into the cafe, at which point cafes and shops are very, very jarring environments. They're very hard for people with vestibular neuritis. They are super overwhelming. And I don't mean that in like a kind of like, oh, the loud kind of way. I mean that in the sense that everything is in very close proximity. Aisles and things like that are hugely overwhelming on the senses because, well, it leads into something else. But yeah, so I found that moving around, and I was saying to her, I was like, I feel disabled, and someone's going to get annoyed with me because they're not going to know why I'm not moving out the way of cars, why I'm not moving out the way of people, like. And my sister was like, don't worry, people can be patient, and people can be patient, but they're not always. And when they're not and they're rude, especially if you're ill and really and truly can't help it, it's one of the most soul-destroying things. So that was kind of one of the moments where I was like, I hate this. I hate the fact that I feel entirely disabled and no one knows it. No one knows how much I'm struggling, because if they do, then they won't have a go at me if I get in their way, or if I fall, or if, I need something to kind of take the pressure off. I remember getting onto a bus and literally like almost falling onto someone. Now I think that that's kind of a bit normal for bus behaviour anyway, but I've never done that. Well, actually no, that's not even true. I have fallen onto someone in a bus before, but I remember on this particular occasion I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, it's so embarrassing. It's like one embarrassing moment after another. I mean, what a lesson in losing your pride. I hate it. So yeah, oh my god. And then one moment that really upset me was just under a week ago. One of the symptoms that comes along with vestibular neuritis is brain fog, and it's one of the shittiest sensations, and I never knew what brain fog was when people talked about it before. And I was one of those people who was like, brain fog? Brain fog? Brain fog, as in meaning like your brain literally is like feels entirely cognitively impaired. It feels like your brain is stuffed full of cotton wool. It feels like you cannot put one thought in front of the other. It is awful. I mean, talk about making you feel like an alien. It is horrific. So I was having brain fog as well as all the other symptoms, and when I'm feeling like that and I'm out and about in public, all I'm thinking to myself is, if I get home, it'll be a miracle. When I say I'm a pessimist, I am quite a pessimist, but still, that's what I was thinking. Like, if I get home, it'll be a miracle. If I can just fucking get home, it'll be a miracle. Anyway, so I was waiting for the bus, feeling so ill, just so ill. And then my bus came, and I saw it, and I was like, that's the bus I need. And I was slowly sort of walking over to the bus, kind of barely able to think, but I was thinking, all I need to do is get on the bus, so it's fine. What had happened was I hadn't flagged the bus down, and it just kind of went past me. So I kind of just slowly walked up to the door, and the bus driver went, "You're meant to flag me down. You're meant to stop me." He was like, "You're meant to be the one flagging me down." And I was like, sorry, I didn't say anything to this guy. All that happened was I forgot to flag him down. I walked over to the bus. He decided to let me on, and then he had to go. And I nearly said to him, I have a condition right now. It means that I cannot think and I'm super disoriented. So leave it. Like, leave it. I know that bus drivers' jobs is extremely stressful, and I'm almost like 99% of the time on the side of the bus driver when someone's being a dickhead. But I was just like, dude, fuck off. Like, seriously, fuck off. And it makes me dread to think how many people there are out there with, you know, women who are in the early stages of pregnancy and nobody knows and they feel really nauseous, or people who just, I don't know, or on their period, endometriosis, and not just women related things, but loads of other invisible illness, Crohn's disease, all this stuff. And when somebody has a go at you, you know, when it says on TFL, be patient because not all disability is visible, you fucking be patient, man. Like, it actually costs nothing terrible is going to happen, and if it does, then forgive me, but in that particular instance, I don't think it was going to. Wow, can you tell I'm like full of rage? Finally, the things that the doctors say, because the doctors do get something wrong. And I do think that the reason they get this wrong is most likely because they haven't experienced this particular sensation. And this is what I've seen a lot of people say. A lot of the time, the doctors kind of confuse your symptoms with anxiety, and they're like, yeah, but you might be confusing your symptoms with anxiety. And I'm like, I've lived with anxiety since I was about fucking like 3 years old. I really do understand anxiety. I've had so much CBT. I really do know what is anxiety and what's not, and I can really tell these symptoms are not anxiety. Yes, they are making me really severely depressed. Yes, they are making me anxious, but this is not anxiety induced, and these symptoms are not anxiety. These symptoms are not anxiety. No. Which is why, in a way, when I went for the test and the guy said there's definitely something wrong with your left ear, I was kind of like, so I didn't imagine it. It was like heartbreaking, but I just remember thinking, all these people have been saying all this stuff, and I'm like, I haven't been imagining it. So yeah, that. So that is mainly kind of people saying like, are you quite anxious? And I'm just like, can we not even go there? Because let me tell you, if you were dealing with this, if you felt like you were falling 2 steps through the air every time you walked, if you felt like you were going to fall over, if you felt like a bus driver was about to have a go at you any second, if you felt like embarrassed, if you felt like you're inside some Zorg ball, if you felt like you were inside a fishbowl, if you felt like you couldn't the world is there and you're trapped behind this like frosted glass pane 24/7. If you felt drunk the whole time without consuming any substances, you might feel a little bit anxious. But the thing is that they will say to me things like, very many times I was told, because you're getting anxious, it's slowing your recovery. Just save it. Save it, because it is almost impossible to not feel anxious. It is almost impossible to not feel anxious, and I don't even know that that was necessarily the case. I think there was aspects of it. It took me ages to understand my condition, and then it took me ages to learn how to manage it. It was a trek. It was an ordeal. It was awful. And I am going to talk about all the things that helped me. For sure. I'm just getting all this out. Getting it all out. Yeah, so that. Even one of the loveliest doctors, who was so lovely, said to me, he said, have you lost your confidence a little bit? And I'm like, there is nothing about going to a shop that makes me feel anxious. There is nothing about going for a walk that makes me feel anxious. There is nothing about, these are things I am desperate to do. These are things I'm doing daily, despite the fact that they feel awful. It's not that I've lost my confidence. It's that if somebody has had 10 shots of vodka and they can't walk, you don't question whether they have the confidence to walk. You say they can't walk. And if they don't feel like walking, it's because they can't. Not because they don't have the confidence. So I kind of wish that some of the language used around it changed a bit, because most often it's kind of like, oh, the only way you will get better is when you start retraining your balance system and kind of like getting out into normal life. It's like, yes, but it's so hard. I think none of the health professionals are super prepared to say, this is going to be hard, this is going to feel like shit, you're going to feel really ill, and the general public might not understand. They might stare at you, they might give you funny looks, like they're just like, just do it. And it's like, I just want to be like, you just do it. You just do it. So yeah. And yes, there are a few other things that were said to me during appointments which I did find very upsetting. I don't even want to go into them, so I won't. But what I will say is the two good things that came from this is that when I was out with my sister thinking to myself, this is so bad that nobody knows how unstable I am, it made me real. I just kept saying to myself, every day I would say to myself, I need a jumper with like a neon sign on it that says vestibular issues. It's fine if you don't want people to know that, but in my head I'm like, I need people to know this because I don't want anyone to have a go at me. So I think there's a charity or a website called Sunflower Hidden Disabilities, and you can actually get yourself lanyards or things where you can personalize them and say what particular thing you're experiencing is, so that if people are generous enough, they can look at it and understand exactly what you're going through, and hopefully they will think twice before they have a go at you for missing a bus or something. So, which by the way, they never should, not to anybody. And yeah, the other thing that this has been an absolute ginormous lesson to me in, I am one of the biggest people pleasers of all time, in as much as I get really, really nervous about saying no to people. And I have had to turn down so many plans, so many. I have had to say no to so many things. I've had to be quite stern. I've had to be really, what in my head is like quite mean. But at the very end of the day, if I don't, it's only me that's going to suffer. It's only me that's going to not get better. And I will never be able to hang out with people and go out and play. I will never be able to do it if I don't put myself first. It's been horrible. I've hated it. I have hated putting the people pleasing to the side, but I've had to. And I think overall it's quite a good thing. So the good things that have come out of all of this are empowering myself by buying myself a lanyard that says, I have vestibular neuritis, this is what it means for me, please can you have a little bit extra patience with me. That might not be for everybody, absolutely not, but for me it was like finding that website was like my prayers being answered. And then also being less of a people pleaser, I think, is a good lesson for all of us. It's being a people pleaser is not good for our health, and this has really forced me out of it, and I've hated it. But I don't think it's a bad thing. The next video is going to be way more positive, and it's going to be about all the things that have helped me. I hope this wasn't too moany. I mean, it was, let's face it, extremely moany. I just had to get it out. It's all gone. So yeah, okay. Bye.